What's up, everybody? Welcome back to part 6 of my John Farrick book review, Wrecking Crew, Demolishing the Case Against Steven Avery. If you're interested in the Making a Murderer case, I definitely recommend checking this book out. You can pick it up on Amazon. That's where I got my copy. It's an extremely interesting read. Now, it's been a minute since I've done a book review video. I'm just going to go over what it is I actually do in this video series. So, I read the book, and then I go over interesting points that the author talks about in the book regarding this case. Now, obviously, this book was written years ago, and a lot of new information has come out since this book was published. So we're going over information and things that were only available at the time this book was written. So here we go. We're going to kick off part 6. John Farrick talks about how a gentleman by the name of Stuart James, who in 1997 became certified as a competent forensic expert in the discipline of blood stain pattern interception. John Farrick lists all this gentleman's accolades in the book if you want to go check it out, but he was brought on to Kathleen Zellner's team to critique the work of Ken Kratz. Stuart James studied photos of the RAV4, bone fragments, the burn area behind Steven Avery's garage, the items that were found in the burn barrel, and blood stains on Steven Avery's bathroom floor. He also reviewed DNA reports and trial testimony, mentioned how trial testimony from the prosecution witnesses stated that there were no blood stain patterns whatsoever in Steven Avery's garage, which means, of course, the absence of blood stain patterns in the garage means the alleged gunshot that killed Teresa Halbach in Steven Avery's garage is inconsistent with what the prosecution states happened. There were no evidence of bloodstain patterns in Steven Avery's trailer, which means no attack could have happened in the trailer like the prosecution described. This is extremely important in the case of Brendan Dassey. There was no evidence, no DNA, no blood, no nothing of Teresa Halbach found in Steven Avery's trailer. John Farrick talks about how none of this was brought forth in Steven Avery's original trial when the lawyers were Jerry Buting and Dean Strang. Stuart James was brought along after Steven Avery's original trial and is a part of Kathleen Zellner's team. Steven Avery's original trial attorneys did not call a bloodstain pattern expert to the stand, and according to John Farrick, that was disastrous because as a result, the defense was not able to put forth a compelling argument against Ken Kratz. The blood that was found on the back of the RAV4 was not consistent with the prosecution's theory on what happened, that the blood pattern on the cargo door was consistent of Teresa Halbach being hit with some sort of instrument. Now remember, at some point in time after the original trial, they did reportedly find, and probably have at that time, an object found in the back of Teresa Halbach's car that allegedly could have been the murder weapon. Also, if you remember from the second season of Making a Murderer, Kathleen Zellner actually bought the identical car to the 1999 RAV4 that Teresa Halbach owned so that she could do her own experiments with the vehicle. John Farrick writes in the book, he wonders if Steven Avery would have walked free if Dean Strang and Jerry Buting directed their suspicion about the blood being planted coming from a different suspect instead of trying to blame James Lank and Andrew Colburn. John Farrick talks about how on November 4th, James Lank and Dave Raymiker visited Steven Avery at his trailer, and Steven Avery allowed them to go inside his trailer. He gave them verbal consent at that time to go look around. The officers looked inside his trailer, looked all around, opened doors, etc., and did not find anything suspicious. They did not find that 4 days prior, someone had been allegedly murdered in this trailer. Now, if you had killed someone 4 days earlier, this is November 4th, Teresa Halbach was killed on October 31st. Would you let somebody into your home? Would you let police into your home to look around? I don't think so. The book talks about how Josh Randit states that when police came back to re-interview him, it seemed they weren't satisfied with his original statement. He states, it seemed to him they wanted him to change his story so that the fire he saw was larger than it actually was. John Ferrick now asks a very interesting question. I love this question. John Ferrick asks if Steven Avery did indeed kill Teresa Halbach and then hide her vehicle off-site, why would he move it back on to his property? And now this next part's for me. And if he did indeed move it back on to his property, why didn't he crush it in the car crusher that they had on the property right away? John Ferrick talks about how during Steven Avery's trial, any mention of law enforcement's regular presence along Cuss Road during the early part of the investigation was downplayed. He states Ken Kratz tried to avoid the subject, but just what was Manitowoc County's preoccupation with the area that was away from Steven Avery's trailer? Why were police devoting their time and attention to this area if there was no relevance at all? John Ferrick seems to think the answer is obvious. Police probably uncovered clues and signs of a crime, therefore they needed to be very secretive, and states there was little written about the effort to mine the quarry property for physical evidence related to Teresa Halbach's death. So basically, he thinks that something happened at the quarry and they used it to either keep information out or used it to plant information and evidence, allegedly, on Steven Avery. And that's where I'm going to end part 6 of John Ferrick's book, Wrecking Crew, Demolishing the Case Against Steven Avery. Again, if you're at all interested in the Making a Murderer case, and I assume that you are because you're watching this video, check out the book. I've also done other book review videos. I've done Jerry Buting's book. I've done Ken Kratz's book. See, I like to give both sides of the story. So, I read Ken Kratz's book as well, and I have a video series up of that. If you're interested in Jerry Buting's series, or the Ken Kratz series that I did, let me know. Write a comment below and I'll drop the link to the playlist where you can watch those videos. So let me know what you think. What do you think of John Ferrick's book if you read it? What do you think of this section of John Ferrick's book? Let me know. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a great day and I'll see you again soon.